I'd like to call the land use meeting of March 5th, 2015 to order. I would like to welcome the Pastor Nate Thomas from Fellowship Church of God, who's going to give our invocation, and then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you for inviting me. Father, we thank you for this beautiful morning. We're glad that we have the availability to live this day. I pray that you would bless this meeting. I pray you'd give knowledge and wisdom and understanding. I pray, O Lord, that you'd help each one of us to realize that you're there for us to ask. We have not because we ask not. So, Lord, I pray that you would bless this county and this city, and these things we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we have no item scheduled for time certain, but I do have an additional add-on item which is going to take action by the board. It is the proclamation that I passed out.
Move to approve the proclamation.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Schmidt, want to join me at the podium? Yay.
Oh, his face is getting red. He doesn't know. No, look at.
Oh, this is wonderful.
You didn't know.
All right, well, we hope we
Yes,
How are ya?
yes.
I think it's.
Okay, well, this is a proclamation for Bob Schmidt. As we know, Bob is, I think most of us know that Bob is leaving to go back into the private sector. And I looked at the proclamation that I got when I left the county to go into the private sector, and it made me think going into the private sector is scary but good, but we are going to miss Bob. So I just wanted to recognize his service with the county. Whereas Bob Schmidt began his service to Manatee County in 1986 as Land Development Code Specialist. And whereas after initially leaving the county to work in the private sector in 1988, Bob returned to the county 3 times, coming and going, serving a total of approximately 15 years, and is currently the Development Services Division Manager. And whereas O is looking for ways to improve county operations, Bob has made many enhancements to internal operations and processes. And whereas in the 1990s, Bob was the winner of the Westwood Fletcher Award for his zoning counter customer service team. Many of us remember Westwood Fletcher and what a great example he was for this board. And whereas Bob is a great coach for his team, a team builder, not only internally but across departments and with outside agencies. And whereas Bob thrives on helping people, his positive attitude has made him a go-to person for the county's customers. And whereas Bob has been valuable to the county while in the private sector by providing feedback on a variety of issues, O is seeking ways to make the land development review process more efficient and effective. And where Bob is once again leaving Manatee County to pursue opportunities in the private sector. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Manatee County, Florida, that March 5th, 2015 shall be known, designated, and set aside as Bob Schmidt Day in Manatee County, Florida, in recognition of his many and varied contributions to Manatee County government and to our community. Adopted with a quorum present and voting the 5th day of March 2015. Signed by me.
Thank you so much. No, I won't. You'll see me, Commissioner.
And of course, Bob does still have to stay and run the land use meeting today, so.
I don't know the name. It's still here.
But I'll still talk to you.
You got the orange memo.
Yeah, exactly.
Orange is the new one.
New black.
I had told John I didn't want any attention, and
All right.
and I also told him that I thought what I needed was a kick in the butt because I've come and gone 4 times, and that's what this says.
You'll be back.
So I will take this as my kick in the butt because I can't come back now. No, I thank you very much. I can't thank you enough. I'd just like to thank Ed and Dan and Karen, along with John, for letting us all do our jobs. And I can't thank all of these people and all of these people enough for all they've done to help improve process. And I think we've made some good changes. I can say that I feel like I'm leaving the county in better shape than it was when I got here. I don't mean that to say anything negative about the people who were here before, but communication is important, and I think we improved some of that across departmental lines. So thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you here again. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to all the planning department staff that work so hard to help us get everything ready for these land use days. I know, having been there, it's not easy to do, so we appreciate the work that all of you do. Let Bob come back up here and get the meeting going. Mr. Schmidt, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, there's one, item number 3. You have an update memo for PDC 14-23, (Z)P, shoot straight. It's a change to stipulation B3. A revised ordinance is attached to the update memo. That is the only change.
Okay. Don't really have any consent agenda, so I guess we don't have to have anything pulled at this time. So I'm going to go ahead and go to citizen comments at this time, since we don't have anything on a consent agenda. Everything is on, do you have this?
Advertised public hearings.
Advertised public hearings. So we're going to go ahead, I'm just following the agenda. So we're going to go ahead and go to citizen comments. Don't have any consent agenda, so this is future items that anyone would like to address. Please come forward if you'd like to address the board on future agenda items. You will have 3 minutes per agenda item, or excuse me, not agenda, per item you want to discuss, and no more than 10 minutes. So if you have distinct issues that you need to address the board on, you will have 3 minutes on those distinct issues. And please come forward, state your name, and Linda Neely is coming forward, and I have Linda Neely signed up. So, Ms. Neely, please come forward.
Before you start my time, I'm going to tell you I stopped at the desk and I spoke with your employee, Sonia, and I asked for where the consent agenda item started, and she showed me a specific page. So I'm a little confused since we don't have a consent agenda. And Sonia didn't think there was one either.
There is not.
I mean, that there is one. She thought there was one. We flipped through the book out there. So you might want to see what's wrong with the policies and procedures of the...
Okay, well, there's nothing wrong with the policy and procedures. We just don't have any consent agenda
Well,
today.
then she made an error.
Unless
For
somebody can correct me.
clarification, the consent agenda item is number B. There's just nothing in the consent agenda. So the form is still the same.
Right.
There just
So
isn't a
I
1, 2,
couldn't
3.
find those items online, so I asked the staffing to show me in the book, the large volume of papers out there, where it started at, and I was directed to a specific page.
And Ms. Neely, I see that you signed up for consent agenda item number 2. Item number 2 is an advertised public hearing, and it's under presentations
And as I said,
requests, so we
I
don't
was-
have a regular, any items.
I
on
understand that now, but I was misdirected, okay? Not that
Apologize.
I made a mistake. Thank you. What I would like to, I'm Linda Neely, I'm a citizen of the county, and what I would like to talk about is the duties of our elected representatives. I've counseled many times our Florida Constitution. Section 5 states that the public has the right to peacefully assemble they are doing that here today, that we have the right to lecture, that is the actual word, our elected representatives, and to seek redress therefore from them. I failed to realize I attended the workshop on public comments, and I somehow missed that we are not allowed to revisit any decision from this podium that this board has already taken action on. As we know in the past, mistakes, I like your shaking of your head, Mr. Bussell. Are you all right?
I'm not going to discuss it with you, but you're incorrect.
Yeah,
Go
please,
ahead.
please finish and we'll respond. Thank you.
Well, I thought we had a policy of not responding, but it'll be great that you did. But Mr. Palmer and our county administrator claims that we have the most liberal policies in the area on public comments. You know, at the land use meetings of several counties adjacent to our county, at public land hearings, the public are actually allowed 20 minutes total time, each individual, to speak to the presenters of hearings and to be answered by them of their questions. I think that is highly fair and appropriate. And when you tell us, one commissioner made the comment, and it was quoted in the paper, and I haven't seen a retraction in the paper, that professional people do not have the capacity or the need to stay here all day because of the public. We're not professional enough for you all? We're not worthy enough of your esteem? That was diminishing? And personally, I take a very, very personal affront to that statement. We are your electors. We are the people who make up this community. You can write all the rules and rights and dictionary definitions of community. The people that work in this county pay their taxes, and they're at work right now. They're not here. And then that supposed person who's going to come in here and quote and stand up and filibuster, I haven't met them yet. I haven't found one newspaper story that supports that statement. I'm disappointed. I'm in mourning for the loss of our rights and our liberties. I'm just abhorred at the actions at you and feelings that you have and opinions you have of our citizenry. Thank you.
Ms. Neely, I would like to respond to your comment regarding a change. That was not a change in any of our procedures. This is was in the past procedures. It was not discussed during the workshop because it was not a change, and it has not been changed. Specifically, our procedures state, and I'm actually reading from the existing former procedures under orderly meetings, that to these ends, such persons are prohibited from, that's 5.4.2, 5.4.2.7, speaking on a subject about which the board has already taken a position or about which the board has voted not to receive further comment. So that is was in the previous existing resolution for procedures, and it carried forward with no change, no discussion, because there was no change. So that is a procedure in place.
What board passed that resolution? I believe it was this board.
This resolution was carried forward, and our county attorney can tell us it was carried forward from R-05-180, passed in 2005. It's been modified subsequently many times in 2007. That paragraph was not changed, according to what I'm reading, 2009. Again, that paragraph was not changed, and again in 2010. So it has been consistent throughout the resolution history from 2005.
I think that should be changed. Thank you very much, because proven over and over, past mistakes happen, and that could be very one of them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, next person I have signed up under citizen comments is Deborah Glow.
Good morning. My name is Deborah Glow. I'm a citizen of Manatee County. Today I came before the Board of Commissioners, and I'm asking them to please reconsider Resolution number 1528. My reasoning behind that, does anybody have any qualms with me asking that?
Can you inform us exactly, because we have a lot of resolutions. Which one is
That was
1528?
one that we voted on last week at the BOCC to put Animal Networks on the charity.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so you don't have any qualms about me speaking about it, or are we going to? I've got a lot of
It's not,
questions.
it was, okay, just clarification. It was heard at our last regular meeting, and I thought it might come up today, so I think you do have the opportunity to come forward and ask for a reconsideration of that if you would like. It's not a land use matter, it's not quasi-judicial, so it has a different rule, so go ahead and continue with your 3 minutes. And
Okay, well, first of all, I went back in and I haven't seen it. I don't have a signed copy of that resolution yet. And number two, I don't see the button back on the Manatee Animal site, the donate button. So those were two questions I had to ask. And my other situation is, I'd like to review the letter that we received from Ms. Colsey from the Animal Network. I have some serious problems with this letter. The first problem I have is she had made a remark towards, it's on page 3, that if it was not voted on unanimously, that she was no longer going to fund or work with the no-kill fund. And it was not voted unanimously. One of the commissioners said nay on that. So we're kind of, us rescues are kind of like in a bind right now. We don't know which way to go. Is she going to fund it? Is she not going to fund it? And if she's not going to fund it, I think it would be nice for her to let us know so we can put some more processes and procedures into place to pay for our heartworm positive animals. And we have not heard anything on that. And I would like if you guys could take that up with her and see where that stands and put that out as fast as you can, because we're pulling animals and we have to know, are we going to have the money or we're not going to have the money? And with that statement, I have to say, I really did not appreciate the way Ms. Colsey put this, because it sounded to me and to many of the people that I work with that she was either blackmailing you guys or holding your feet to the fire to get a unanimous vote. And I really think she owes all of us an apology over that. I think it was really uncalled for her to put that in there. And then she also put something in here about conspiracy. I'm trying to read my writing. I'm done. Okay, about the conspiracy.
thank you. Yeah, it was a public comment letter. We can get public comments letters that say anything. She is a public citizen. She can say anything just like you can say anything and Ms. Neely can say anything. Public comments, people will say all kinds of things. So I'm going to go ahead and go to future, any other folks that would like to speak on future agenda items, please come forward.
Madam Chair.
Let's finish. Yeah, I shouldn't have responded. I apologize.
Catherine Morningstar, I just want to tag off of what Ms. Glow was saying. Sorry, I have a problem with that. There's 3 different names out there floating around that continue to be told about a certain group of individuals that don't always agree with your policies. First one started in December, crazies. That's thrown around there. It's never been reprimanded by anyone. And we know the source of that. Not getting into that. You already know about it. Conspiracy theorist has been used 3 times by people that you know, and it's starting to get extremely offensive. That never came from us, and that was mentioned by somebody sitting up here last week, not just Sue Colsey. And it came from another person that was involved with Animal Network. So the name calling of people who have a differential, view of a topic needs to please reconsider doing that. We're not calling you names. Please don't do that to the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to address the board regarding a future agenda item?
My name is Glenn Gibelin. I'm a citizen taxpayer of Manatee County. I'd like to talk about a moratorium. I think it's worthy of a consideration from this board. And I'll just read a few experts. I won't take up a lot of your time. Moratorium on development is a local law ordinance that suspends the right of property owners to obtain development approvals while the community takes time to consider, draft, and adopt land uses and rules responding to new changing circumstances not adequately dealt with. And I think we have that problem in Manatee County as we speak. Development moratoriums may be general specific. The general moratorium imposes a ban on consideration of approval of all development and building applications in the community. Hardship exemptions may be provided at certain exempted. Otherwise, all development applications for subdivision, site plan, special permits, wetland permits, and building permits are suspended until new land use regulations are adopted. Specific moratoriums may prevent development approvals in particular areas of certain type. And the purpose of the moratorium on development preserves the status quo for a reasonable time while the municipality develops and adopts a strategy. And that's where we're at. I think we are overbuilding. It's 4 pages long. I'm not going to burn up all your time. I will enter it into the record. It's something worthy of a consideration because the explosive land development of our community and our county is going way too fast for this citizen. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to come before the board to address us on a future agenda item? This is your time. Okay, seeing nobody come forward, I'll go ahead and close the citizen comment portion of the agenda. We have some folks that want to respond. Commissioner Chappie.
No, I didn't. I don't know how that got on. Wasn't
Okay.
me.
Commissioner Whitmore.
I did talk to Sue Colsey, so feel free to be ready to help her take care of the heartworm positive dog. The unanimous vote was the majority, and she was fine with that. And so please get together with her. We need money. I think there's something like 200 animals out there that need treatment, but we need the money. It's like $130 a dog to treat them, so she needs it. So that's fine. And while we're on this issue, and I'm glad the group is here, I met with the state's attorney, Mr. Hutchison, and Gene Palin this week, and we are going to reinstitute the Animal Abuse Coalition with all the law enforcement like we have been doing. We had done in the past, but with the Napier situation, we wanted to wait till all that was over. We talked to Lisa, and Lisa has been wanting to get it going. So that's going to be coming together. What we need help from the rescue communities when we do bust these fight dog groups. We got to have a place to put those dogs because you can't put them together in one cage. So that's our biggest problem. That was our problem last time. So I'm going to be relying on maybe these people to help us come up with a solution. We don't know what to do on that. We're looking at some of the organizations throughout the states. Mr. DiMolina's comments on moratorium. I've been involved in a couple moratoriums throughout my years in the city. You have to have specific reasons. You have to have a specific time frame. I think when I was the city commissioner, my city got sued by AT&T because they put a moratorium on cell phone towers. And my first day as mayor, I had to sign a settlement with them because we lost. I know the islands right now have a moratorium going on, something specific. You can't just ban all building. It has to be specific, as from what I'm almost sure, and I think our legal counsel can tell us that. It's not like you can say, there's too much building, I'm putting a moratorium. We wouldn't be able to afford the lawsuits we would lose. So that's all.
Okay, next up I have Commissioner DiSabatino.
Yeah, regarding Debbie Glow's comments, I pulled up the letter from Ms. Colsey, and she's not here to defend herself, but it was written on Animal Network stationery, and she signed it Vice President of Animal Network, so it wasn't just a citizen coming forward. I just wanted to clarify.
What is Animal Network? They're not a county organization. I'm confused.
Well, they're going to be on our county button. But what she said was that the letter that she read, the letter that she read into the record, volunteers don't have to do anything, and we choose not to continue the no-kill fund without the unanimous support of the full board. And since I didn't vote for it, it wasn't unanimous. So perhaps that's what's misleading. So if she intends to continue, which I hope she does, then perhaps maybe she should send us just an email or a letter stating that unanimous
Majority.
was was the majority.
Right, yeah, that's a
So,
good point.
because I think that this is misleading, and that's why they're upset. Also, you know, the terms, the crazies, conspiracy theory, button gate, you know, this really does need to stop. And I can't apologize from what someone else says, but I apologize because you're offended, and we need to move on. I had asked the county administrator to address this, the crazy email, and I haven't seen anything as yet. But all this name-calling needs to stop. We need to work together and move forward. Thank you.
It's unfortunate that things escalated to the point they did, that Sue Colsey, who is with Animal Network, which is a private 501c3 that the county does not regulate in any way, so she is a private citizen. It is a private organization. The county does not regulate it. The county does not fund it. We don't tell them what they can say in a letter and what they can't say in a letter. I spoke with Sue Colsey many times while she was writing this letter, when she submitted it. She was very, very upset with the pushback that she was getting on what she considers to be a very well-meaning organization, what their nonprofit does. So I'm sorry that she had to have the frustration that she had to put these things, but you know, we get letters calling us names all the time. I'm not surprised. Even some folks up here have chosen to call us names. I'm not surprised that this happens when people get frustrated. I certainly would like to see us work toward better relationships, because we're going to have to do that in order to solve this issue that we have with funding our animal services. And it's going to take everyone working together. So I agree with you 100%, Commissioner DiSabatino, that we need to move past the problems that have been, you know, brought up. I would love that. So thank you for your comments. We're going to go ahead. I don't have anyone else on the
Can I
board.
just finish? I agree, and I understand her well-meaning, but when she put that in the letter and read it into the record, and it said unanimous, it's like holding a gun to my head. If I don't do it, then they're not going to fund it. And so nobody's going to tell me with a gun to my head, basically, how I can vote if I don't feel that way. And according to this, if they're not going to fund it because it wasn't unanimous by me, then they don't deserve to have the button on there. But if they're going to fund it, then they can have the button on there. That's what I'm trying to get across.
Well, you made your position perfectly clear at the meeting when we voted on this. We're not going to reconsider it. Well, I've not heard anyone bring up a request for reconsideration on this board. I did hear Ms. Glow bring that forward, and that's perfectly legit for a citizen to do that.
And I'm not changing my vote either. Thank you.
And that's fine. And I hope this Ms. Colsey will reconsider and not hold us to that standard, because it wasn't unanimous.
Right.
And
If she does, then we have to decide whether we want the button on there, if they're not going
well,
to
we'll
fund.
reconsider that when it comes. I heard Carol say that she spoke with her. I've not spoken with
I
her
have
subsequently.
a few times, and she
And
clarified
perhaps
it.
she's reconsidered. She can do that. As I said, this is not something we control, whether or not Animal Network is going to continue to help raise funds. And Carol, if I understood you correctly, you said your understanding is they will.
She already told me. I said, you can look at unanimous two ways, 100%, or you got the majority of the board. And you've got the majority of the vote, which was 6-1. But I just sent her an email and said, could you please send another letter that Robin and Debbie Glow are asking to have it clear, and I just sent it to her, so.
Okay. Let's go ahead and move forward with our land use agenda. We've gotten through citizen comments. As we noted, there is nothing on the consent agenda, so we don't need to approve it. We have no advisory board appointments. We do have advertised public hearings, so I'm going to go ahead and ask the clerk's office to go ahead and swear everyone in.
Please stand while I administer the oath.
Waste so much time, did I not?
Do you swear or affirm that the factual statements and factual representations which you're about to present to this board will be truthful and accurate? I do. Thank you. The applicant is entitled to 15 minutes for presentation and 5 minutes for rebuttal. Individuals may speak for 3 minutes, and anyone representing a group or an organization of 5 or more members may speak for 10 minutes. If you represent a group, please state the group you represent and provide written authority to speak on behalf of the group. When you step to the podium, please state your name and whether or not you've been sworn. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, first up is Heron Creek. Staff want to do introduction?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This is item number 2, PDR-14-24, paren P, Heron Creek Phase 2. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. It's for the approval of a preliminary site plan for 45 single-family attached lots on approximately 17.705 acres located at 7600 36th Avenue East in Palmetto. I'm not sure that, they're not attached, are they? They're detached.
Sorry.
Maybe the applicant can address that, but that's what my advertisement said. Or not advertisement, the, detached? Yes, detached homes. And Shelley Hamilton is here for staff.
Do you want a presentation?
Would anyone like a presentation on
No.
this? It's presentation upon request.
Not at all, but I think it would be good to just state what the history was, because this is a project that's been going on since '89. It's not like this is anything new, but I'd like to, nothing else, just that. Thank you.
Shelley Hamilton, planner with Building and Development Services, and I have been sworn. As Bob mentioned, this is an amended preliminary site plan. They came in 1989, sorry.
Yeah.
For 132 units on phases 1 and 2 of Heron Creek. They are adding 10 additional units to the 35 that are left for 45 residential units on phase 2 of Heron Creek. And this is on Ellington Gillette Road, just south of I-70, or I-275.
Directly across from Southeast Guide Dogs, correct?
Yes.
Sorry?
It is.
Directly across from Southeast Guide Dogs?
Yes, directly across.
Madam Chair, there is a disclaimer because I talked to somebody, it wasn't Bob yesterday, just because I saw an email from somebody a while back that to make sure there was a disclosure. And I guess when you have a kennel in the neighborhood, when you build, it's mandatory. So it was already in there.
Correct.
Okay, so this is a previously existing approved development. Has any of it been built?
Not for phase 2. Phase 1 is currently under construction.
All right, well, let's go ahead and have the applicant come up because I do have a couple of questions as well.
Good morning, Chair Benak and Commissioners. I'm Rachel Layton. I have been sworn. I'm with CNS Engineering, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have this morning on the project.
Okay. Anyone have any questions besides me? All right, so, yeah, that was really the question that I wanted to make sure that because of your proximity to the Southeast Guide Dogs, that, and, you know, I think we got an email from someone that said, you know, dogs are barking there quite often. So I want to make sure, since you already have a phase 1, has this been an issue, and is there anything you've done about it?
Phase 1 is currently under construction, and I believe on Phase 1 there is a fence that's going in adjacent to the buffer for those homes.
All right.
But we're not finished with the planning process yet on Phase 1, so no homes have been sold.
And the reason for your change is?
The client asked us to revisit the project and take a look at it. There were some changes to the FEMA firm maps, and we were able to redesign Phase 2 for a better community, a better designed community, and we were able to achieve 45 lots total instead of 35 with the design.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions for the applicant at this time? Okay, thank you very much. Well, I'll go ahead and ask, has there been any ex parte communication by any of the board members regarding this land use issue?
Nope.
Okay, no ex parte communication. Let's go ahead and go to public comment. I do have one person signed up to speak, or actually two, I think. Glenn Giblina.
My name is Glenn Giblin. I'm a citizen of Manatee County. I did read the 244 pages of this document, by the
Point of
way.
order, just one second. Glenn, you need to be sworn.
Oh,
Oh, thank you for that catch, Commissioner
Thank you.
Sheppy.
all right.
You have to be sworn, yeah.
Do you swear or affirm that the factual statements and factual representations which you're about to present to this board will be truthful and accurate?
Yes. I don't say I do anymore. Anyways, I did read, my name is Glenn Gibalina, I'm a citizen of Manatee County. I did read the 244 pages of this report on the docket. My question would be, a deal is a deal. They were zoned RFM 6, I believe, for 35 units. This is a 30% increase. One, I don't think it's admirable to increase 10 lots when they originally were zoned for 35. And also in that docket, it says, well, existing areas around are compliant with this decision. Well, maybe those decisions are wrong. I think this overbuilding has got to stop. I think a 30% increase, any developer that wants to come in and say, oh, I'm not happy with 35, can you bump me up to 45, is unacceptable. I just don't think it's a good idea. And if you were going to approve it, then perhaps those 10 lots should be set aside for affordable housing or habitat lots or something in that direction. But just to come in and say, well, it's I need a 30% increase because I can probably make a ton more money regardless of what their site plan might say, I think it's a bad idea. I think a deal is a deal. 35 should stay at 35. You're going outside the parameters of the original intent of that zoning, and I don't feel comfortable with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, I have Ms. Linda Neely signed up to speak on this issue.
Linda Neely, citizen.
Have you been sworn?
I do.
No, have you been sworn?
No, I have never been sworn. that
Oh,
I
you
know
have
of.
to be sworn in. This is a quasi-judicial.
Well, that's why I
public-
was waiting, because I thought your records would, you would have records who you have sworn in.
Every single meeting for a quasi-judicial public hearing, you have to be sworn
I've
in.
never been to one, so no, to speak, so no, I have not.
Do you swear or affirm that the factual statements and factual representations which you're about to present to this board will be truthful and accurate?
Yes.
Is there anyone else in the audience who was not sworn previously? Thank you.
Hi. I personally, every day, am on the roads of Manatee County. And most of the time, I call it Manatee parking lot. Because you're sitting, waiting for the traffic to come. Coming to this meeting, the traffic was backed up in the two southbound lanes. And you couldn't even, you had to wait your turn at the light to turn onto Manatee Avenue. I-75. It's stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. And it's not because there's an accident, it's because of people exiting the interstate. I know there are plans coming for the future to increase a lane in Manatee County on I-75. As I read it in the paper, FDOT has got that on their agenda. We're going to put a diamond interchange at University, and we've got a few other things planned. But what year are they going to be completed? You know, in those years that are in the interim of that, the Fort Hamer Bridge, it starts construction, I think, here within 10 days. They're going to have 44th connected with a bridge when they get that resolved. But 24 months minimum is what we're looking at before we see any kind of relief on the roads. And yet I believe highly, absolutely in personal property rights. I think that the owners of those lands have the right to build it on it and to maximize their pocket. But I also think that you have an obligation to the common good, you use that enough for other things, that the pollution you're creating by the traffic sitting and idling is not considered. How many cars actually are per household in Manatee County? How many developments have you approved just in 2015? How many cars have you added to our roadways? I just think that we have to have something beforehand, before now. I don't know exactly what that is, but I know we have to do something now. And does this board have any plans? Do your personnel that we pay, you know, our budget is, if it's like the school board, 80% of our budget is employee paychecks? Do they have any clues how to stop that? And it just doesn't impact us, it's impacting the will of the visitors to come here. And I think tourism is a big dollar item for the county. And they're gonna go home and they're gonna tell those tales of, yeah, we thought we could get to Disney World at, 10 o'clock, but instead we sat at Manatee County on I-75. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to address the board on this land use issue? Please come forward. Okay, seeing nobody come forward, I'm going to go ahead and close the public comment portion. Now it's time for board questions to the applicant, staff, or any citizens that have spoke. Commissioner DiSabatino.
On page 7 of 19 of the staff report under B, transportation, there's one under there. And it says prior to final plat approval of the first lot of Heron Creek Phase 2, a northbound left turn lane with a minimum storage length of 50 feet and a deceleration length of 185 feet, include a 50-foot taper, shall be constructed at the intersection of Ellington Gillette Road and the project driveway. The required improvements shall be depicted on the final site plan and construction plans. My question is that borne by the developer? It doesn't say if it's the acceleration lanes and the turn lanes. Who's paying for that?
Good morning. For the record, Clark Davis, Transportation Planning Division Manager, and I have been sworn. The condition that Commissioner DiSabatino was referencing is one that's for a site-related access improvement. Those types of improvements are paid for and constructed by the developer concurrent with the land development for the site.
Do we need to state that in there?
The requirement that they're included in their FSP and construction plans connotes that we've not had any issues with enforcement of that in the past.
Yeah, typically when it's a stipulation, it is a stipulation on the applicant to comply with. Is that correct, staff?
That is correct.
So it's a stipulation. We don't typically stipulate things that the county has to do. We stipulate things that the applicant has to do.
Okay.
That is correct.
Just thought it was vague. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the recommended motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Anyone else have any other questions? It was seconded by Commissioner Whitmore, motion made by Commissioner Bussell. I just wanted to clarify that in regards to what was previously approved, because we heard a question, and this is a two-phase project. Perhaps the applicant can clarify what was previously approved and when and what is being requested at this time.
In 1989, the project was originally approved for 131 units. In 2006, the approval changed it to 125 units. So now between both phases, it would be 135 units total for both phases of the project. What we're asking for today is approval just for the preliminary site plan for Phase 2 to allow for 45 units.
Okay. And in concurrency, transportation concurrency, do you have transportation concurrency approval for any of this development?
We do. We have a current CLOS on file for Phase 1, and that actually covers Phase 2 as well. And if I might address Commissioner DiSabatino's concern, that turn lane is actually under construction already for the previous approval for Phase 2.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner DiSabatino, do you have further questions?
I just want to make a statement that the project has 37.5% open space, 30 is required, so that's above that. They have sidewalks on both sides, inside, and I love your setbacks. I love your side yard setbacks of 7.5 feet. Thank you.
And Commissioner Smith.
Yes, following up on Madam Chair question dealing with the location by the guide dogs. Now, we gonna have a understanding that when you develop this project, that the residents that purchase this not gonna come back in here, want us to do something different?
There's a notice to buyer.
Yeah.
There will be a notice to buyer in their homeowners association, their deed restrictions. So they'll be made aware of that as when they come to view the community to purchase.
Okay, Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's the last person I have on the board, so I'm going to go ahead and call for action on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Chair votes aye, and motion passes. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Next item is item number 3, PDC 14-23. Go ahead, staff.
That's right. Thank you, Madam Chair. This is item number 3, PDC-14-23, Z, P, Shoot Straight University Parkway. This is also a quasi-judicial hearing. It is a rezone of approximately 9.78 acres at 2335 University Parkway from PDR, Plan Development Residential, to PDC, Plan Development Commercial, and approve a preliminary site plan for a medium-intensity recreation facility, specifically an indoor shooting range and a neighborhood retail business in a separate building. And this also is, Shelley Hamilton is here for staff if you have any questions.
Okay, anyone like a presentation? Maybe just a quick summary of what the project's about?
Yes.
This is on University Parkway. Shelley Hamilton, planner with Building and Development Services. I have been sworn. It is on University Parkway. It is for an indoor shooting range and an additional second retail business on this 2.93 acres. University Parkway has an interlocal agreement with Sarasota County, and Sarasota County was notified and commented on the access onto University Parkway. I'll be happy to answer any other questions or bring the applicant up to address more issues if you have any.
That's an existing access on University Parkway, is that correct?
Right.
Okay. All right, any ex parte communication by my board members on this item?
Nope.
Okay, we'll go ahead and go to the applicant if they have any comments they would like to share with us at this time. And then if any of the board members, they can ask questions of the applicant.
Good morning, George McBee, President, GMM Development. I have been sworn. I also have Randy Birchmeyer, Birchmeyer Construction, going to talk about building construction and operations, and Dale Merriam and Merriam Environmental to talk about any environmental issues. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. And I live in the area, so I just want to know, you're tearing the building down that was built initially, I think, as a mosque.
Yes, ma'am. My client has closed on the land. Unfortunately, Mr. Levine, who did own the land, did pass away. So we had to close on the land prior to that happening. And they are in for permits to demolish the existing building, correct?
Okay, and everything will be enclosed. Will it be soundproof to some degree?
Yeah, everything is enclosed, and again, Randy could talk. It's a tilt-up building. Really, we've gone through a few of these through different municipalities throughout the state. Really, if you stand right next to this building, the most that you would hear would be a snap. I mean, it's really a soundproof type indoor facility.
A significant buffer. Okay, other questions? Commissioner Smith.
Yes, Madam Chair, on this item, I would like much information as possible, at least to be protected by the record.
Okay.
So I would like any information from anyone he has with him, at least be on the record in this setting.
Do you have any other information that you can share? Commissioner Smith would like maybe more of a full presentation?
Yes, that's what I want for this, a full presentation.
What I'm hearing.
Since it's a sensitive issue and,
Sure. As you know, we're here for rezoning from PDC Plan Residential to PDC Plan Development Commercial and preliminary site plan approval for an indoor, medium-intensity indoor recreation and a second retail building. That second retail building, we do not have a specific use for as of yet, but we acquired 9.79 acres, so we have lands to develop a second retail establishment, which would have to come back before this board for any approvals in the future. I'll tell you a little bit about Shoot Straight. Shoot Straight started in 1979. They have 8 facilities throughout Florida. It is recognized as Florida's largest gun store chain and dealer. It offers services including professional gunsmithing, accredited fire safety arm classes, concealed weapon permitting classes. Everything is regulated by firearm sales and purchase are regulated by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, and according to local laws. It is a 16,658 square foot indoor shooting range. there is a retail sales, portion of it is retail sales, portion of it is storage, and there are 24 enclosed shooting lanes, as you would call it, that are accessible to the public, which is the majority of this building. The overall site consists of 9.79 acres with uplands along University Parkway and along the rear of the site. Through the middle of this project, I have some site plans, if I could lay them out, if that helps. Like, put it up here, or put it right here. This dark green area, that's existing wetlands on the property that will remain undisturbed. The lighter brown area towards the front is a lower quality wetland that we've had delineated by SwiftMud as well as Manatee County staff. They've inspected the wetlands, and that will be mitigated on the site to the rear. We will remove that portion of wetlands and create enhanced wetlands, and the remaining trough of wetlands that's through the center of the property will remain undisturbed. So overall, there's about 4.79 acres of the overall 9.79 that will be retained as wetlands/conservation areas. As I mentioned, the site plan shows two separate buildings. The building to the left, which will be on the west side, is the Shoot Straight building of 16,658 square feet. The building on the right side, and now on the bottom side, is the future retail building, which is allowed to be up to 9,000 square feet of general retail use. Again, we don't have a specific use for that property. Access will be from University Parkway. We have one right-in, right-out driveway that's in the center of the property that matches the existing driveway that is there today. That was the stipulation through the county and the interlocal agreement between Sarasota County and Manatee County. Stormwater facilities would be in the rear of the site, meeting Manatee County and SwiftMud drainage criteria, floodplain encroachment, floodplain management, all of that will be regulated by Manatee County and Southwest Florida Water Management District. We had a neighborhood meeting on this project on December 16th. Two neighbors came out in support of the project. Nobody came out against the project at that time. We've worked through staff and we've read the conditions, we've read the stipulations, and we are in agreement with the staff report. So any other questions, feel free to ask.
Any other questions?
Just for the record, I had asked Shelley Hamilton yesterday about the driveway, because I currently is a dirt gravel road, and you are going to be paving that?
Correct.
Two-lane road?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, through the staff reviews, we were allowed to get two driveways. One is in the middle of the property where there is an existing driveway today that services the residents and the church that was on the property. To our west is 31st Court Street, which is a public right-of-way that we can put another access to that driveway to have two access points. Based on our surveying and the obstacles for us to be able to construct that driveway, it's unfeasible for us to build that, so we're really going to have the one driveway, which is in the middle of the property, that will service both users.
Okay. I've got a couple questions. Because you're in the entranceway, what is the design? Can you explain what the building will look like? Because we are in the entranceway of the county. What kind of design will you have for this building?
I'm going to bring Randy Birchmeyer down.
And also landscaping, because it's in the entranceway.
Randy Birchmeyer, Birchmeyer Construction, and I've been sworn in. We are the contractor. We built several of these buildings. They are an upscale design. They fall into, they look like a regular retail building. They're constructed of tilt-up walls, 7.5-inch thick walls around the building. We also put a hollow core deck on the roof. So you got like 8 inches of concrete deck. The firing lanes themselves, they have substantial sound insulation, as we spoke of a little bit earlier. So what it is, you have about half of the 16,000 feet is the range, and that has its own individually contained ventilation system. It's got air conditioning, ventilation, where all they comply with OSHA, the EPA. And the outside of the building, the colors that we've provided elevations that should be in your package that go along with the area. And the other thing, this building is there's one way in essentially, and we have faux windows, so it looks like it's a regular building with canopies, awnings. The other thing is high security. The good thing also, we have several police officers, a local law enforcement, they visit regularly. They're there, it's a higher end experience. People will spend an hour or two there, do a lot of browsing. So it's become very, very popular. And let's see, the store hours fall in line with the guidelines. But the big thing is we also provide all the outside cameras, so there's footage available at all times. Everything is monitored continuously. There's typically, we touched on the noise. It's in accordance with local codes at the different municipalities. We have had no problems. So is there any more question on the landscaping? We follow the code, and we want it to look good, open, and look nice, because that's the way all our projects look.
Do you have a copy of the elevation, perhaps you could just put up? If you have.
We have,
Maybe lay that down here.
Yeah, please. Lay it down underneath the Elmo.
there's kind of from the front entrance, it will be facing, how much we can get there? Okay, so those all have different elevations. We have a front wainscoting that we spent an extra $30,000 to $40,000 to dress it up with additional canopies and the windows, and then we have the different architectural elements. And driving down University, that kind of falls in line with a lot of the product of the retail.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant at this time? Okay. Thank you. Staff have anything they wanted to add at this time?
If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer additional questions.
Richard DiSabatino, you're on the board, but I didn't know if it was from before.
No. Want to thank you. You're developing South County very nicely, and that section of University right near Carol Whitmore's office building, her husband's office building, going east is really developing culver's on our north side, and a lot of new eateries, and there's that new hamburger place I've been meaning to try, so we're going this weekend. Culver's, yes.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. So, welcome to South County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go to public comment at this point in time. And anyone like to address the board regarding this land use application for PDC zoning and site plan approval? Please come forward, state your name for the record, and whether or not you have been sworn, because it is quasi-judicial.
Linda Neely, and yes, I have been sworn. Hi again. I think, as I stated before, everybody should have the right to maximize their property rights. But again, and this will be the last time I say it at any of these hearings, I just can't stress enough that yes, they might meet your transportation code, but please think about the current residents and businesses trying to go to and from when you make these plans. And as to a sensitive issue, I don't think that any right in the Constitution of the United States of America is a controversial item whatsoever. We know what they're going to be doing there. It's going to be utilizing guns. And I am for the project because right now I believe Darrell Roussan, who is a member of your, I'm still not sure about the Manatee County Legislative Delegation. I've done public records requests, and the those elected representatives at the state level are throwing back the responsibility of that delegation to Manatee County, and Manatee County says that they are responsible for their delegation. So I'm still haven't gotten to the bottom line on that. But Darrell Roussan is a member of your delegation, and he is trying to introduce a bill that no one can fire or discharge a gun on their own private property. So this business would be the only place they could go to discharge their gun in the state of Florida, unless, of course, were lucky enough to get one of the state permits to go hunting in one of the parks. Just like Duet Park, you have to enter a lottery to go discharge your gun to hunt. So there'll be no open areas practically left that individuals can go. I personally know of managed areas with farming who lease to gun clubs, and there are houses because those properties had a former owner who had a house. So now it doesn't matter that there's 1,100 acres there. If that bill passes, they're not going to be allowed to shoot their firearm on their property. And guns aren't the problem. People are the problem. People kill people. And I don't know that anybody anywhere on the planet can answer the resolution to that item. So I think you should approve their plan. I think it's another commercial activity. The sales tax will be great because they'll be selling ammunition and it's high, and it'll be good for the economy of Manatee County. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to address the board on this issue, please come forward, state your name and whether or not you've been sworn for the record.
I'll be brief. My name is Glenn Gibolina, and I have been sworn. This is a great project. I love the aesthetics of the building, 7.5-inch walls. I previous had a concealed weapons permit, owned several guns, been hunting since I was 5. So this is a great project, and it's right around the corner from my house as well. I would just encourage the owners to do a shout out to the local community, to the local schools, grade schools and high schools, and offer discounts in their gun courses, because I believe in the Second Amendment. If used properly and trained properly, this is going to be a great asset to our community.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else who'd like to address the board on this issue, please come forward. Okay, seeing no one else come forward.
Motion to approve.
I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. I'm going to give the applicant or staff any time for rebuttal if they have anything. Commissioner Smith, I had you on the board. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
Let's go ahead and just quickly go
I
through.
want to say for the record, I respect the right of law-abiding citizens to carry a firearm. My vote has nothing to do with the bill that's pending in Tallahassee.
Thank you. Commissioner Baugh.
Actually, I'm excited about this project. As a matter of fact, I'm going clay shooting this afternoon at Ancient Oak. You know, I've been to many establishments that, like you're talking about building, and I think one of the good things is that I think it gives the public an opportunity to get familiar in order to protect themselves. It gives them a place to be able to go, to be educated, if they're looking for a concealed weapons permit, whatever the case may be, and I'm assuming that you'll have that at this location. So it's a good thing. We all need to be aware. We need to be smart. It's our right as American citizens, and I uphold that. So I'm glad you're not going to be far from me either. Thank you.
Commissioner Whitmore.
And my friends up here know I've taken care of so many people that have died from guns that I feel different, but I do believe that citizens have the right. I just choose not to. But I did have a question about quasi-judicial, because we're not, if we drive by that project, that's under, I mean, you had read that in our.
I don't think if you just drive by. I think
But
if
if
you
you
make
go
a site
down-
visit and drive around the site and specifically
Because
look
Robin
at
had said something about dirt road. I just want to make sure, because you had read that last time, and we had never done that in all the years I've been up here. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, it does say, and I had this discussion with the attorney, and maybe you could expand, if you have actually taken a site visit. I think all of us drive down University Parkway. I ride my bike, so I know exactly exactly what the condition of the driveway is. I've driven across it with my bike, and I'm looking forward to it being paved. Go ahead and answer that
Well,
question.
site visits mean you going to the site after the application's been filed and pending to observe and add additional facts to a decision-making process, then you should disclose it.
Right. That's all. I just want to make sure, because now these are new rules. We got to make sure.
Well, driving by, I looked over and I
No.
saw the drive, and also on our materials, it had a
Yeah.
dirt driveway.
I don't mean you particularly, I just mean
Right.
for everybody, because this was new to us the last two meetings.
And I just want to make sure that, before we get a motion, that you recognize that we did have a change to stipulation B3. And I did look at this site because I've worked very closely with many of the property owners in this area, and I know there's some limitations on access. And so I'm glad to hear that you have reviewed that with Sarasota County, the access limitation. Staff has said that we're completely compliant with the access limitations of the Land Development Code and the University Parkway Agreement. Staff could just reiterate that, perhaps.
For the record, Clark Davis, Transportation Planning Division Manager. The staff's understanding of the code is that this is compliant. It may need to be, the access that was referenced may need to be closed in the future when there are cross-access opportunities with their neighbors, but as an interim condition, it fits within our code.
Yeah, at one time Broadway was planned to go all the way across, but we made an amendment to Broadway to limit it to ending at Shade. Is that?
Broadway at west of Shade is no longer shown as a thoroughfare, but that doesn't mean we couldn't have a local road connection or cross-access easements or other means of getting across. As it turns out, Broadway right-of-way does not run through or behind this property. All of the existing rights-of-way that might have been Broadway are west of here. So it is more likely to be a cross-access easement in this area, and the amended STIP captures that so that it doesn't limit it to something that might not be feasible anymore.
And I did see for compliance that they do have a cross-access easement, a 30-foot cross-access easement through the parking lot. I saw that on the site plan, so I did see compliance with the code in that regard, right? Okay. All right.
Motion to approve with revised stipulation B3.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, and motion passes unanimously. Thank you, and yeah, look forward to seeing the construction down there. Next up, we have item number 4, Aldi Inc.
I would like a full presentation.
We've been asked for a full presentation, so staff, if you'd go ahead and do the introduction.
Yes, Madam Chair, this is item number 4, PDC-14-27, paren Z, paren P, Aldi Inc. This is quasi-judicial. It is the rezone of approximately 3.87 acres located on the northeast corner of 53rd Avenue East, or State Road 70, and 45th Street East at 4525 53rd Avenue East in Bradenton from GC, General Commercial. There's several zonings here. So part of it is already zoned GC, 1.41 acres of the parcel. Part of the property is zoned A1, 1.1 acre of the parcel is 1.18 acres of the parcel is A1, and 1.28 acres of the parcel is PRM. This application is to rezone all 3 of those districts to one PDC, Plan Development Commercial Zoning District, and approve a preliminary site plan for 17,018 square feet of retail use, specifically a grocery store, and Rosina Leiter is here for staff.
Good morning, Rosina Leiter by the staff, and I have been sworn. The site is located in the northeast corner of State Road 17 and 45 Street East, and like the advertisement said, is make up for 4 parcels, zoning general commercial, suburban agriculture, and professional office median. In addition, the applicant is asking to rezone to PDC and to build a grocery store for Aldi supermarket for 17,000 square feet. So, and also, the project require a special approval shall be granted for a project that is adjacent to a perennial stream and partially with the coastal high hazard area of the Manatee County. The applicant is asking a specific approval for roadway buffer alternative and for provide an alternative for landscape islands within the parking spaces. It's important to says that the applicant is working pretty close with the staff in order to incorporate in the project design the improvements related to the widening of the 45th Street East. That is a capital improvement. The applicant also provide renderings for the elevations, and here by the applicant is Mr. Stantner. And if after his presentation you would like more details, I am able to do a full presentation.
Thank you. Okay, we'll hear from the applicant.
Hi, I'm Scott Stannard. I'm the president of Commercial Site Solutions Engineering, and I have been sworn. Thank you, Rosina, for making that presentation for us. As staff alluded to, this is a 17,018 square foot limited item grocery store for Aldi Incorporated. I have here with me today to answer any questions about operations of the store itself. I have Emily Mason with me from Aldi. I also have with me the traffic consultant, Mr. Michael Yates. I'm sure there'll be traffic questions, as there typically are with any proposed development, so he'll be happy to handle any of those. But more specifically to what Rosina had mentioned, we've been working with staff now for about 5 months, 6 months with Tom and with Clark on coordinating this project with the proposed improvements that are going to be occurring on 45th. It's part of the CIP for the county. They can speak to the timing of that, but we've been working very closely in relations to reservations of right-of-way, coordination of the design, moving our driveway as far north as we could until we just about hit the bridge. That's about physically as far north as we can get. Also pulling back our curbing and things like that so that when the county does come through, the county's not having to rip out something that we had just constructed. It makes it easier for the county, a little cheaper for the county. Frankly, makes it a little cheaper for us. So it worked out well on both parties' parts. In terms of the development itself, we have pretty substantial landscape buffers that we've reserved. You'll notice on this particular plan, and I can lay it out here for you on the screen if you'd like. The site's actually a little bigger than it normally would be for an Aldi store. An Aldi in typical layout form is going to be about 2.5 acres. Did I get that centered? As Rosina noted, this one's over 3. Reason being that we do abut the creek that's on the north-hand side, and in order to meet all the code requirements for buffering, for conservation area preservation, for floodplain compensation, and we've done everything we can basically to just stay out of the floodplain so we're not affected by that. To reserve some rather large trees, some beautiful trees that are on the backside up near the creek, we've been able to hold most of those in place. Provides for a really nice buffer. It was alluded to that we've asked for some relief on some of the buffer and screening for the parking lot. The reason we've done so, we actually exceed the buffer requirements in width, but in order to get the required number of parking spaces on the site, we had to eliminate some of the internal parking islands, and we've compensated for that by adding to the landscaping and screening around the perimeter of the parking lot. So, and frankly, I think it's going to make for a better looking project. But access coming in from State Route 70, there's actually currently from DOT, there are 3 driveways located coming into this property from 70. We're going to close all 3 of those, condense it down to 1. It'll be a right in, right out. We've been working with the DOT on that. Actually went in for permits on it about 4 months ago. With typical DOT expediency, we don't have the permit in hand yet, but we should have that soon. And then as Rosina noted, we'll have 1 access on 45th. That'll be a right in, right out as well. We're planning on it being a right in, right out. There's some timing issues, and the county can talk to those issues. But as far as the improvements that the county is going to be making on 45th, there's an existing median right now that divides 45th. It stops short of what is now the 7-Eleven, I believe it is, or Citgo driveway. That median is going to be extended further north, all the way across the bridge, if I'm not mistaken. And that'll make our Aldi driveway a right in, right out, but it'll also make the driveway on the other side a right in, right out. and in doing so, not to speak on the county's behalf, but what that does is it allows the people that are traveling southbound who want to make a right or a left-hand turn to not be impeded by the driveway configurations of people trying to come in and out of those sites. So it should improve those, the access point there. That's it in a nutshell. I have an elevation of the building with me as well if you'd like to see it, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Okay, I'll go ahead and ask if there's any questions for the applicant at this time. Also ask if there's been any ex parte communication by any member. Commissioner DeSabatino.
Drove by the site 2 days ago, and also, I mean, I go by it all the time, and I watched the Planning Commission meeting twice.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
I watched the Planning Commission meeting twice.
Commissioner Chappie.
It's not ex parte, but I did have a quick question. If the applicant might comment on the plans on the shaded area. I believe that is designated, it's going to be right away that you're going to be donating or giving back to the county, I believe?
Yes, sir. We've got a reservation of right-of-way that we've put together and working with staff, and we've actually kind of exceeded a little bit of that because not only are we going to reserve that right-of-way for the county's purposes of widening 45th, in working with Tom and Sia and his group at Transportation, we're actually going to put in what we call a little dive lane. It's not warranted by the counts, but it's going to be a little added measure to get traffic off of 45th and into the Aldi a little bit easier. So we went ahead and reserved that right-of-way as well.
And on 70, the reason your entrance and exit off onto 70, the reason it's done that way is FDOT will not allow you to be in the deceleration lane.
That is correct. They wanted us, they kind of gave us a rock and a hard place. We can't be in the right-hand deceleration lane. They also want us as far from the neighboring property corner as we can get, so we ended up where we were.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Ball.
Thank you. I just wanted to add, I haven't had any quote-unquote conversation, but I do know the owners that own this property. Haven't spoken to them about this piece of property in over a year. Just wanted to bring that out and be above board.
I wondered if the applicant would mind just elaborating a little bit on what an Aldi is.
I should be happy to.
I have never been to an Aldi.
I'm a big fan. Not only am I the engineer, I'm a big fan.
Cortez.
I know.
But I
I've never been to
don't,
it.
I've never been in it either.
And actually, Emily can probably do this better than I. But an Aldi is a grocery store. It's a full grocery store. You can buy any product at an Aldi that you typically could buy at any normal grocery store. The biggest difference being when you go into a Publix, there's 50,000 food items in there. And there's, you always use this one because it's the simplest to follow. But if you go to buy a can of green beans, there's going to be 10 different brands of green beans for you to choose from. In an Aldi store, it's a family-owned business, and they've kind of hit this niche, and it works really well. You go into an Aldi, there's going to be one brand of green beans, and it's going to be one that their professional procurers have gone out and found the best quality for the best price that they can get. Products in an Aldi will change from time to time. You got to watch the papers, because if they find something that they know their customers are going to like, they'll bring it in. It might be in the store a week or two, and you won't see it again. But by limiting that selection of goods, eliminating, instead of you go to the soft drink aisle and Coke's got 100 feet and Pepsi's got 100 feet, they've narrowed that down. They're able to shrink that. Everything you get at a normal grocery store in a 50,000 square foot building, it fits in a 17,000 square foot building. And by limiting the size of the building, by limiting the operation cost, the one we were just joking about is, you better bring your own bags or you're going to have to pay, a small price, 5 cents or whatever it is to buy a bag. You bring your own bags, you bag your own goods when you pick them up.
Okay.
But the prices are phenomenal when you get it. So, and then, just in case you got any candy lovers here, they also have wonderful European chocolates that they keep
now
there.
you're talking.
My husband's going on his bike.
There you go. So at any rate, it's a full service grocery store. It's just done in a different way.
Okay, and then like no deli, do you have that?
No deli. There's prepackaged meats. Everything in there is prepackaged. So there's no deli prep. There's not a bakery, anything like that.
Cost down.
Okay, interesting. And I don't live very far from here, so I'm sure I'll try it out. Commissioner DeSabatino.
I know a lot of my constituents love the one on Cortez because the vegetables are really fresh, and it's kind of like a combination between the farm stand and the large grocery. So you get really fresh vegetables. They go there for your vegetables and good prices. I don't have any questions for you. It's more for the staff and on 45th.
Yeah, and we'll go ahead, thank you. We'll go ahead and go to staff presentation at this time. I don't know how staff wants to do this, but I think transportation's kind of a big issue, so I'll go ahead and turn it over to staff, however you'd like to do your presentation.
Again, Rosina Leider by staff. I have the site plan, and to go a little in detail with what the applicant explained is this is the access from State Road 70, access for 45th Street. The store gonna be located to the east, and these are the 3 islands in which the applicant is asking a specific approval. The site is located 100 feet from State Road 70. And in yellow here is the area in which the applicant is asking the alternative for the roadway buffer, because in this area they can only provide 5 feet because of the improvements, and they're gonna provide 8 feet here to compensate the roadway buffer. Here is Tom can explain all the in details related to the 45 with Brian.
For the record, Tom Skersmerger, Public Works Department, I have been sworn. With respect to 45th Street, there is a CIP project ongoing. It happens to be in land acquisition phase for the widening of 45th Street to 4 lanes with divided highway, 4 lanes from State Road 70 up to the future extension of 44th Avenue East. If you wish, I can bring up on the overhead the future plan for the intersection at 45th and State Road 70.
Be great.
Yes.
What you see in yellow, what you see highlighted in yellow happens to be the future median separating the southbound and northbound lanes. Part of the reason why the median, the existing median, would be extended further to the north is the fact that in the future widening condition, there will be a dual left turn lane from southbound 45th onto eastbound State Road 70. In this condition, typically, and Clark can elaborate further, but typically you do not want a turn lane movement across into a dual left. So that's why, another reason why this median wouldn't be extended further to the north. In addition, as brought up by the applicant, the driveway entrance off of 45th Street was located as far as possible north within the project, since there is a bridge crossing for a drainage canal, which is located along the northern boundary of this project. At this time, I'll be happy to answer any further questions the commission may have regarding 45th.
Commissioner DeSabatino.
And I had questions very similar to what Mr. Rhodes had and Mr. Horgan at the Planning Commission. Okay, so you're going to extend this intersection blockage. What do you call that?
Median.
Median,
itself.
okay. So anyone traveling north on 45th, can you put north up?
Sure. It's actually
It's always on top.
here. Let me just write it on here.
It's on the top.
Okay,
So
and
north
just
would
turn
be
your
looking
page, can you turn your page
Sure,
to north
sure,
up?
sure,
That's, and the little microphone
Pull it
out of
down
the
a
way.
little bit.
Pull the microphone up a little. Okay. I'm a north up person. Okay, so when you're traveling north on 45th, then anyone wishing to get into that gas station that's currently there, they'll have to only enter it from 70 or go up 45th and UE?
That is correct, Commissioner. Yes.
Okay, so how far up is the next UE? And is there going to be a turn lane for them to do the U-turn. Because I can see that getting backed up there.
I'm sorry, this might be hard for me to. The next median opening would have a left turn lane, and that median opening and turn lane would be located at Pro-Am.
At Pro-Am?
Yes.
And how far south is the fire station? Or where is the fire station in relationship to that?
Actually, I've got an area which might be better
Okay.
to identify.
And Thomas, it'd be helpful if you could, and maybe Clark, I'm not sure if you can tell us the status. I mean, this design is completed? Is the design for 45th completed, or is this underway right now?
Madam Chair, the plans for 45th Street East are 100% plans. The project is in land acquisition phase.
Okay, just want to clarify that, since we're asking questions
And
about
is it
the design.
100% funded? No?
Go ahead.
We're funding it to buy it.
I didn't review it to prepare, but I mean, with us in land with acquisition, I believe that the project is 100% funded in the capital improvement program.
Okay.
It is.
I thought he said different.
If I could have the overhead camera zoomed out a little more, please.
The other way, Chris.
Oh, that's good.
That's good.
That's good.
All right, there we go. I need another pen.
That's a fire station.
All right, as the map exhibit represents the existing condition, the site being outlined in yellow, the proceeding north from State Road 70, you would go beyond this project, beyond the bridge for the drainage canal. The first pin is located at the fire station, the actual driveway where fire vehicles would come out onto the roadway. With the construction of 45th Street East, the widening, there would be an median opening at that location, at the driveway location. However, any type of turn movements other than those associated with fire vehicles would be prohibited.
So there's going to be a no U-turn
Correct.
sign? Okay.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Further to the north, and where the second pin is located, is Pro-Am. And that would be the location of a median opening and a left turn lane.
And then the properties in between Pro-Am or UAM? Pro-Am and the fire station, any properties on that west side will have to go up in UE to get in going north?
Actually, Commissioner, if I'm correct, and I believe I'm correct, those properties that are located between the fire station and Pro-Am are in the acquisition for stormwater and for floodplain facilities associated with the widening of 45th Street East.
Okay, so then there won't be any private
That is
properties
correct.
in the
Yes.
future? Okay. And then, I know FDOT has regulations, a distance from an intersection to a driveway. Do we have any? Because
Clerk, can you answer
in
that?
my opinion, when I went 2 days ago, from the intersection to where the driveway is, or actually to where the canal is, it's a very short distance. And if you're going to be making, I'm all in favor of the project, but I'm just trying to get the logistics. So if you're going to be making a turn from 53rd heading north on 45th to get in, or just to travel, and people are coming out, I just don't want it to back up onto 70.
For the record, Clark Davis, Transportation Planning Division Manager. Following up on first to a question a moment ago about the funded status, the construction funding is spread over a few years, but all of it will be in place by fiscal 17. And as Thomas indicated earlier, as we're proceeding through acquisition now and expect to start construction within a year or so. So
Okay,
towards the end
so-
of this year, early next year.
So 17, we're going to have the extension of that median, but in between now, they're said that their project is going to be completed in 9 months or so. So between this year, which is 15, and 17, you might have traffic going across that just to get into the gas station, and it could be a little difficult to navigate for 2 years.
Yes, we'll have an interim condition that's similar to what we have there today with the additional driveway. And then second was the question about the driveway setback distance. If I'm interpreting this correctly, in our Transportation Standards Manual, the corner clearance between an arterial roadway and a private commercial driveway is 75 feet. I did not scale this distance, but there are some constraints here that
Is it 75
because
feet?
of Gap Creek. 75 feet is what I'm seeing in the manual. Looking at the plans, it looks like there's 110 feet from the edge of right-of-way on State Road 70 and the center line of the driveway, and I believe our dimension of 75 feet is from inside edge to inside edge, but that travel lane would be 15 feet or so it would still be over the 75 feet that's required for that clearance.
And I'm just, okay, so I'm okay with that, but just that crossing in the interim period with a one lane on each side, one lane going north, one lane going south. If someone wants to turn into the gas station like they do now, that'll back traffic up, and then traffic will be coming out. And is there a way to put bollards up in the interim?
Could you mark it for a right-in? I mean, it's going to be a right-in, right-out condition in the future. Could you mark it for a right-in, right-out
Or
now?
no left turn signal?
Our experience is generally if you don't put a physical obstruction in there, that the markings and signing don't achieve a whole lot. If they can turn left and they want to turn left, they will. Whether or not they would put something like that in would be something that traffic design could look at when they come in for their final site plan. And while the construction funding isn't 100% in place until fiscal 17, we do expect to start construction towards the end of this calendar year or early next calendar year. And once construction is in place and they've started establishing the work zone, they're likely to have Jersey barriers and other obstructions up there anyway. So I'm not sure it will exist as an interim condition very long if they proceed to construction as on their current schedule.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I might also add, the site plan does identify, as far as the 45th Street driveway, it does identify stripage. On the striping plan, it does identify that as a right turn only.
That's what I thought. I didn't know if there was anything else we could do to, I mean, obviously, they've already agreed on the site plan that it will be a right turn in, right turn out condition, so they're fine with that.
And
Sabatino on that issue?
but will the decel, that short decel lane be going in now or not till you widen 45th?
Madam Chair, Commissioner DeSabatino, that was a lot of the scheduling, a lot of the timing associated that we've had up to this point through the submittal process, was to make sure what's being constructed by Aldi is not, at the end of the day, being ripped up by the county. So a lot of that timing, per se, things of that sort, we didn't want Aldi to go ahead and install curb up to the existing pavement. We didn't want Aldi to locate the driveway further to the south, because as you bring it up, it become more of a conflict with the intersection at State Road 70. So as far as improvements, things of that sort, as far as the basically the slip lane, as it was called by the applicant, all of that would be associated and incorporated into the final build-out design, the widening of 45th Street itself.
Can you show me, one last thing, can you show me where the the driveway is to the gas station in relationship to this driveway? Are they across from each other, or is the other one further down? It's right there?
You can see it on the
Yeah.
plan.
They're pretty much
Across
right
from each
across
other.
from each other. That is
Yeah,
correct.
so the traffic at the gas station's going to be coming out as they do now onto 45th going north. And then thank you, that's all.
All right, Commissioner Ball.
Thank you. Guys, you know, in my briefing yesterday, you were terrific about answering all my questions on this project, and the only one that was left for me was on State Road 70, having a right turn lane, being able to slow down there to turn in, because I didn't want it to affect the other traffic on State Road 70. But am I to understand now that FDOT is not allowing that? Did I understand correctly?
Michael Yates, Links and Associates, and I have been sworn. Yes, that is correct. DOT, it's not that they're not allowing it, it is not a warranted turn lane, and they are not requiring it. We have met with DOT, provided them the numbers, submitted our permit app, and they have verbally told us that it is not required based on
Not
the volumes.
required.
Correct. Their warrants are 80 to 110 cars making a right. We're in the neighborhood of 35 cars making the right. So we're not even half of their warrants.
I can tell you I come down by this property twice a day, coming here from where I live. And there's a lot of traffic there, and that intersection is very, very busy. And I think once 45th is finished and 44th, I think it's going to be even more so. So that concerns me on this project, very much.
DOT would not allow a turn lane to be designed there because of how the design would function. If you put in a turn lane there with the driveway, that would make the driveway in the middle of the turn lane because we're right at the back end of the taper for 70th.
I see what you're saying.
So that would put the driveway in the middle of the turn lane, which is definitely something DOT would not allow.
Okay. The other thing, the only other comment I want to make is that I had a meeting with the residents in Peridia almost 2 weeks ago now, and for the other communities around this, I think this will be a nice asset for them because it will keep them from necessarily having to go through that intersection to get elsewhere. So I think it's a good thing for them. And also, talking about Peridia, you'll be seeing some buffer go up, some shrubs and so forth along Peridia. So I think it's going to be very helpful in that regard. Thank you.
Next up, I have Commissioner Chappie.
Yeah, and Commissioner Ball, that was what I was sort of referencing with regards to the deceleration lane and DOT not allowing the driveway to be in there. I'm a little bit unclear as you're turning north on 45th. Is there 2 lanes there? And an acceleration lane and an area to turn in? I mean, I know it's a county road, so we don't have to worry about the state regulations, but, well, we do, but how's that function there? I couldn't make it out on the map.
For the record, Clark Davis, the existing condition is a single northbound lane. The future connection is 2 northbound lanes, and what our engineering division has been doing with, negotiating with the applicant is how the access point will look in the future, and they're going to put in, it's not a full turn lane, but it's as much as they can put in and still have it interact and properly with the intersection. Is more like a short taper. And what it will do is, because right turning traffic usually doesn't have to yield to any other traffic, so it's easy for them to get out of the way. It at least gets some of that northbound traffic out of the way faster than it otherwise would. And so it's sort of some operational efficiency gained. But that's a future condition. They're designing their site to accommodate that now as an interim condition, but it'll get modified somewhat when we come in with our construction project.
Thank you, Clark. Thank you.
And that's basically where you have that little cut-in on the lake. Is that what that is accomplishing there, is to have that short decel section for the drive? Is that what I'm looking at?
Yeah, so that short deceleration taper for northbound rights into the site.
Okay. All right. And Commissioner DeSabatino.
Last question I had is regarding on State Road 70, from the intersection at Lockwood Ridge going east. Where's the first available spot for them to do a U-turn to get onto 70?
It's either at 44th or the next one over. It's a block or so. Their nearest neighbor is 44th.
Okay, so they'll be able to do a U-turn there, or go all the way up to Natalie Way where there's a light.
There are opportunities before you get to Natalie Way, but you're correct. There is a light at Natalie Way where U-turns are allowed. It looks like the first U-turning opportunity with the dual lefts in there now on State Road 70 comes at 47th Street Court East.
Where that barber shop is?
It's farther east than that. Their barber is their immediate neighbor at 40.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, 46th. I think I misspoke and said 44th a minute ago.
Okay.
Tom, thank you for doing that. You wouldn't believe how much that helps.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then I heard, and staff, you can just, that there was going to be extra buffer. It looks like on the site plan, they have significant buffer along the southern part along State Road 70, so they're going to be adding, in addition to land, there's going to be additional landscaping there. Is that what I've heard?
Yes.
We have almost a 30-foot buffer, which is beyond what the code requires, and maybe the applicant would like to comment on the screening, buffering they propose there.
For the record, Scott Stannard again. I have Tim Larson also with Commercial Site Solutions. Tim is our landscape architect.
Great.
Yeah, Tim Larson, Commercial Site Solutions, and I have been sworn. Yeah, I believe we work closely with the staff in trying to meet and actually exceed all the buffer and screening requirements. We did ask for special approval for internal areas, but any landscaping required for those internal areas have been pushed to the perimeter. So it's been beefed up as well.
Okay, good. Okay, that's all the questions that we have on the board. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing on this item. Is there anyone who would like to address the board regarding this rezone and site plan application? Anyone who'd like to come forward and address the board? Okay, seeing no one coming forward, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. At this point, I have no one else on the board. Any other questions?
No question, just, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve it. I'm just, the traffic is getting crazy, and until 45th is widened, we're just all going to have to grin and bear it right now. But this section of the county, which is right in between Districts 4 and 5, is growing so rapidly. And then I believe on the south east corner, something else is, I read in the paper, Wawa, I've heard. So I'm going to have a lot going on there. So pretty soon, Commissioner Ball, we're going to need another diverging diamond right there. So just teasing.
You'll get that one.
So motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion for approval and a second, and I agree that there's a lot going on, so we look forward to having those improvements come on sooner rather than later at 45th. I know it's been a long time in the making. I am amazed, given the neighborhood concerns that we've had about the road, that no one is here, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
No other comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, and motion passes unanimously. Thank you, y'all. Okay, that is the last item that we have on our agenda, so I'll go ahead and go to, unless staff have anything?
No, Madam Chair, just if you have
County
any questions
Attorney?
for me, I'll be happy to answer.
County Attorney have anything they want to add today?
Nothing additional, thank you.
Go ahead and go to Commissioner comments. Just going to run down the line. John Chappie.
And the line begins here, huh?
Line begins with you today.
You're on the end, it's one way or the other.
ULI finished up their presentation on site here in Manatee County, and I'm looking forward to their final report. Should be interesting. WCIND We did interviews last week. As you all know, Chuck is leaving, Chuck Laskowski. So we did interviews, and we had 4 extremely qualified applicants. We chose Justin McBride, who is from Lee County, and I'll make sure you get his background information. And then once Justin gets settled in, he's going to be working with Chuck Laskowski for about a month or so until until his time is up, to learn a little bit more about what's going on. I mean, you never know. you think you know until you're really on the job, and Justin's looking forward to it. I will tell you, Justin blew it out of the ballpark with his interview with everybody, as the other 2 applicants, or 3 applicants total, 4 total did. So we were very fortunate to have a lot of qualified people apply. And that's all my report. Thank you.
Commissioner DeSabatino.
Nothing regarding land use, just one item that was stated earlier. I just looked up Merriam-Webster definition of unanimous, having the agreement and consent of all agree about an issue. Thank you.
Thank you for Webster. Commissioner Bessel.
Well, John brought up the ULI study, and I've seen an email that talks about the problems with parking spaces as related to beach renourishment. And does anybody know anything about what's going on there?
I'm sure we'll protect.
Yeah, Commissioner Chapman, I know there's some concerns, and hopefully, when the ULI gives their broad recommendations, like they did here, they don't know the specific laws sometimes and specific regulations we all have to comply with, but I'll go ahead. Commissioner Chappie?
Yeah, I believe there was some timing issues with regards to getting back with Charlie Hunsinger. I know I missed mine, and we called him 3 different times, and it just didn't work out. We had land use meetings and had things going on, and they did too. I'm reserve my comments. I'm looking forward to reading their final report and seeing what that has in it. So. And it's something I'm sure we're going to be able to build on, as we have with the other ULI. If anybody knows anything about the community, ULI should. They've done the big job for Manatee County. They've done it for Longboat Key, and they now have done it for the Anna Maria Islands. So I think they will have a good idea of what's going on in the community. So I just reserve my comments on their report.
Yeah, look forward to seeing that. Commissioner Baugh.
Oh, wow, it's my turn already?
Skip me, I'll be last.
Didn't take long at all. I just wanted to bring up a couple of things. This year is the 20th anniversary of Lakewood Ranch. It is also the 10th anniversary of Lakewood Main Street. I know the Sarasota Herald is doing an article on that, so it's hard to believe it's been that length of time, but it's here. So the other thing is, I had a meeting yesterday. I'd mentioned to all of you that about having some citizens and business people get together to talk about road infrastructure, and we did meet yesterday, so we're going to be meeting again. And I just want to thank everyone that was in attendance. It was very enlightening. I think that when it's all said and done, it might take a little time, but I think we're going to come back to the board with hopefully some ideas on how to move forward. So again, just thanks to everyone that is involved. That's it.
Commissioner Whitmore?
First of all, I just saw from Nick that to inform families first, the one that Greg Stubbe added on to his legislation with the driver's license and the veterans, it passed its first committee yesterday.
That's great.
It's a major thing. So congratulations, and thank you for Christine for this great idea, Christine Olson. The Greyhound Protection Act, that actually went through the Senate the first day. Cool. So that includes injuries reported during a race, within so many hours by a vet have to be reported now, or deaths. And then the other part to it is, and this is what Galvano and I had talked about over the years, a lot of people go to the dog tracks because they want to gamble, not really because they want to see the dogs. So what they're trying to do is decouple it, which means some can still have the greyhound racing if they want, but they don't have to, but they can still gamble there. So that was part of the legislation at the greyhound tracks. So that's also part of it, and it's called the Getz, after Senator Getz's family member that's doing this. And I don't know, is there another planner in the planning department leaving also? And is it Shelley?
Shelley Hamilton is leaving as well.
Shelley's gave a 30-day notice, and she's
Oh, my
been-
God.
Lured back to the private sector.
Right.
That's what I was just gonna say, and I know because we've heard this, Ed preached this to us for a while now, that, you know, when we were in the worst recession since the Depression, we did get help and they've stayed, and now, they're going out to the private, and I was shocked, I just heard that, last night, so we wish her well too. She says she gave 30 days notice?
Yeah, she'll be here. There's a couple items on the April commission agenda that she was kind enough to stay for.
Do we know who's taking your place?
They probably have to find somebody.
Yeah, it's currently advertised. Shelley's isn't advertised yet, but mine, I think, was just posted.
Okay, that's too bad. Okay. And the rest I'm going to save for the regular meeting. And again, I did confirm with Sue, she's the vice president, she's not the president, that she'll put something in writing. Okay.
I appreciate her taking it back. I know sometimes we say things in the heat of the moment, but you know, I appreciate her changing her mind and being willing to continue. So, Commissioner Smith.
Madam Chair, I don't have anything at this time. I will save mine to the next meeting.
Okay, well, I'm just going to give a couple announcements. I don't recall if I announced that Ray Charmiante, formerly with the Hillsborough Planning Commission and Hillsborough MPO, was selected as the new T-BARTA Executive Director. Has great experience. He was here yesterday. I met with him. I introduced him to some of you folks, who some of you know him because he's been around for a long time. And we'll continue to talk about T-BARTA and its role and, you know, where things are going with T-BARTA. Not prepared to make a full presentation, but we will be back to discuss that. So just wanted to let you know that. Also, I attended the City of Palmetto workshop. I didn't stay for their full meeting. I had received a call telling me that the issue of the regatta was going to be on their agenda. So I went to the workshop at 4:30. I was the only elected official other than the City of Palmetto folks in the room. So I got kind of the brunt of their concerns, if you will, and valid concerns. You know, they didn't experience the same economic boom that the south side of the river. And all I could really say is, you know, I'm sorry that you didn't have the same results. You know, this is a first-time event. Initially, I wasn't going to get up and say anything, but there were so many negative comments, and I really just wanted to get up and say what a positive, wonderful event it was. I wasn't involved in the planning. Manatee County did not have a direct role. It was a City of Bradenton event. We assisted. With it, the TDC. Elliott was involved, but we did not have a direct role, and I know I spoke to Ed briefly about it. He's going to address this further. I just want to let everyone know that I was there, since I was the only one, and there was clearly some very much consternation about how the economic development didn't work out that well for the City of Palmetto. All I could think of was to stand up and say it was a great event. I'm sorry that there wasn't the economic realization that there was on the south side of the river. Obviously, we have to do better, to start planning earlier. I think a lot of things kind of changed at the last minute. That's was my perception, why, you know, the boat pits weren't available. You know, and I said, and you know, I know Commissioner Smith was at some of the events and couldn't get back across the river because of the bridge being closed. And I said, hopefully we can do better with that, at least have some golf cart access, bike access. I said I would have attended the event on the north side of the river if I could have ridden my bike across the bridge, but you couldn't even do that. And I think, again, there was a lot of people being very cautious first-time event. But I just wanted to let y'all know I did speak kind of on behalf of the board, but it was really kind of off the cuff kind of a thing.
Well,
so.
you know, may I speak?
Yes.
Well, we had heard that some of their roads were closed north of the river. Also, and this was our first, so hopefully they'll continue to partner with us. Perhaps that we can have a tram system, and if you park on the north side, you have a tram, only a designated tram in the, using the emergency lane, and getting people back and forth that way. And I know that we can work other things out.
Yeah, and I asked a question about whose call was it, where to close off the roads, and I was told it was Palmetto's. It was not county's call. I don't know how much,
Bradenton's call.
and not Bradenton's call. That's what I was told, but,
Right.
that it, so. Commissioner Shappy, did you want to comment on that?
No, but I forgot
Oh.
2 things.
Okay.
If that's all right. If it's not, I'm fine.
There's a charge per item? No.
Go ahead. Do you have a comment?
Just one real quick. I did receive a text. I copied it and sent it in during the meeting. The no parking signs on Warner's Bayou Bridge West have disappeared once again. So there's some issues still going on over there. The other thing, 2 things.
Oh, and it's under construction.
No,
Oh,
no, it's that bridge that I,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
and I talked with Bob and the staff about this, and I just wanted to bring it up with you guys. During our briefings for land use meetings, the suggestion I made was, why don't we start utilizing the ACE conference room and the technology in that room as we go in there as individual commissioners? That way they're able to put up the presentations or anything else that they're going to be doing. Plus the maps will be up there that you can go to Google Earth, and you can, it might be a little easier to reference and understand as a commissioner as to what they're being presented to us, the different applicants, what they're doing in the discussions. It might be a little easier. We put in all that technology, and they use it all the time when they're reviewing plans.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't we be part of that during their presentation? Because they're already prepared to do it electronically with the technology. It's not adding anything to their job.
It was right there in front of us, and you made a good point. I said, we should be using this, there's no question about it.
As soon as we find staff, we'll ask them to use it.
Right,
Commissioner Whitmore.
I don't have I kind of like the intimate in my, I mean, I went yesterday because that's where they were, but, that's what I got my conference table for. We all sit around, and I don't have a problem in my office doing it. I haven't had a problem yet. They always have their iPads. They bring up the map, and I bring up mine, and sometimes I have to go to my desktop, and can't do that if I'm in another room. I've been happy with the way it's been going, but that's just me.
It doesn't have to be the same for everybody.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Smith, you had a comment?
Yes, Madam Chair, just piggybacking on your comments. I happen to be still a city commissioner when promises was made and a Christian concert was supposed to take place over that did not take place,
Right.
that decimated the business opportunity to make money. And dealing with the issue of what took place in Delgado, you got to have vendors on both sides of the road, north and over here. If you did it equally, whoever wants to be north of the river can remain over there, Braden can remain over here. So my concern was the fact that I voted, well, no, I didn't vote because the city attorney told me, don't vote because I was leaving.
Okay.
But the promises that was made and the fact that a lot of businesses in north of the river was hurt, bring reservations to me that it has to be a better understanding between the two cities, and the county government may need to be more involved. Certainly, we represent both sides of the river, most of us. It'd be very difficult for me to sit here and support closing north of the river down for that event. It need to be some more clarity to it. And the fact when that concert was canceled at the 11th hour, it kept people from coming down spending money. And so it needs to be more equal balance. And then the shirts came out with Braden and Regatta. Now, I have one, by the way. But we've got to look at this kind of stuff. We really do as a Board of County Commission. And the city's going to have to understand that we represent a whole lot more than just the cities. So we can't shut down one city versus the other. And I don't know if some of our colleagues understand that. I talked to a lot of business owners. Real deep north was hurt. And if you had equally vendors on both sides of the river, it would take care of that. But when that concert was canceled, it decimated the business. You had a couple on the riverfront made money, but mostly everyone didn't make money. And the closing of the roads was based on the concert that was supposed to take place.
Do we know why it was canceled, the concert?
I don't think they got
I don't want
anyone
to
to do
misspeak,
it.
but the promoters who said they was going to put it on didn't do it.
I thought it was more than that.
It may have been more than
What
that.
I heard, but I
Well, I
haven't
was on
verified
the
it.
commission when it was promised that they was going to do the Christian concert and it was going to come from funding, but it didn't happen.
Who organized it?
Well, let me just say that at the meeting when the mayor did get up, finally showed up, he was a little late, that he said, you know, that there were things that should have been done better, and Dave Gustafson worked extremely hard, but I think there needs to be a better relationship with the promoter. I mean, again, as the city said, this wasn't all our deal. I mean, we didn't put this on. We had a promoter, and he said, before we commit staff to this, they need to make sure they have someone that's in charge of it. It can't be the city of Bradenton, it can't be the city of Palmetto. This is an event that was being brought in, so they need someone to take kind of charge. And interestingly, the guy from the DeSoto celebration stepped up and said, we'll do it, we'll do a better job. And that was kind of an interesting volunteer on their part, because they were at the meeting as well.
And that's exactly what I'm saying, because if you had shirts, you should have had shirts north of the river also with their logo on it, and that didn't take place. And that's the only thing I'm saying.
Okay.
And so basically it was a wonderful event. I was over here.
Yeah.
But you can look and see Palmetto shut down across the water. You can look and see it. And so this is what my concern was. And so we need to be more engaging. It didn't cost us much, but sometimes we have to be the peacemaker.
And the TDC did provide funding for it, so that is.
And you gotta understand, and both cities gonna have to understand that we represent the cities and the unincorporated areas. So when you go to shutting down unincorporated businesses, and this is my district, I got a concern with if they ain't making money that day.
Yeah, and there certainly were plenty of people, and we gotta do a better job of handling them. I would guess we're gonna get more next year. Got to figure out how to handle everybody. Commissioner Whitmore.
Well, and the shirt issue, this, again, this wasn't put on by us, and it was put on by Bradenton, and Bradenton and Palmetto maybe should have been better partners in it, and then, I don't know why, but it sounds like this was put on by the DDA, the downtown?
No, it was.
It was just the
There
Riverwalk.
was a promoter
Right.
that was in charge.
They must have signed a contract
partnered
with
everybody.
Bradenton.
Yes.
Okay.
But
And-
honestly, I don't know the
Yeah, I don't
details, and
either.
Ed said that
He'll find
he would
out.
be prepared to come back and discuss this. I told him I was just going to say, you know, that I was at this meeting, this is what went down, so.
Well, maybe
I
we could
think y'all
get
read
that
about it.
answer, because that may be just a simple answer of whoever coordinated this. And maybe if, next time, if they get together and do it together, it will be both. But also the closing of the streets by It Works. Now, I heard that the owner of the restaurant there, the pier, what's that called,
Riverside Reef and
Riverside
Grill.
Reef?
He did well.
They were packed, but that street was closed off, and I thought we did it, but then I heard the cities all decided. So that's another thing that we have to work with the cities, so that because that's a business core district.
Well, the
And
street
that you
was
had had to
closed
walk
down
down
based on
there.
the concert that was gonna take place, and you're supposed to have a couple of thousand people mingling in the street.
Yeah, I had heard that the concert was canceled a few weeks before the event.
No, it wasn't, no,
Oh,
it was
okay.
shorter than that, very shorter than that, because
Yeah, I
I didn't know
heard.
it was canceled, so I got the regatta to the
Oh.
event. That's when I found out that it was
Well,
canceled.
we'll get Ed to give us some information so we can make it better, hopefully, if they do it again next year.
Commissioner
And
DeSabatino.
also, in addition to maybe the tram, maybe have a specific water taxi.
There was.
There was?
The water taxi guy was the most positive.
Oh.
Speaking at the meeting at the city council. He said that he was so busy next year, he'll have 2 boats.
Cool.
He said he brought as many people to Palmetto and sure, there was the only way to get across to Bradenton. Every time his boat was full, he said he
I had a
was
lot of friends
just.
So maybe from one of our boat ramps to their boat ramp. and
That's
have
what
we
they
have
did.
'em.
If-
Yeah.
If you'd have had the vendors from Sutton Park all the way to the riverfront, then you'd have had a event over there on
Right.
both sides of the road like they did over here, and that's what needs to take place.
Well, we'll change it up and
but,
we'll
Yeah,
make
you
it
know,
better.
Hopefully there's, and you know, it was a first-time event, you know, who knew how successful it was going to, you know we need more porta potties, we know we need more places to get food, and certainly, you know, more activities in Palmetto, like you said, have that kind, I mean, the Sutton Park all the way down to the Riverwalk, have those businesses participate, have, you know, vendors there, and have an activity. Yeah, there, you know, I watched the Frisbee dog thing, that could have been on the north side as well. You know, those kind of things. It just is, as a first-time event, I think there's probably going to be some, you know.
In my lab, there was a lot of people there, but I haven't seen the numbers. I've seen people talking about the numbers of how successful it was, but I like to see the dollars that went into it and so forth, and I understand some.
Paper, 80?
Some,
Have you seen the economic report that came
No.
from our, oh, well,
No, I
I
need-
think it was sent to all of us. You need to look at the Clages, our guy with the TDC, the economic, what's his title? Vanessa, you probably know better than I do. He does our economic impact analysis for the TDC. He did an economic impact analysis.
Do we know how much
Sent out.
funds was put in? That's what I'm trying to find out for local government and sponsors and things like
The-
that. That's what I'm
The
looking at.
TDC put money in
Small
for
amount.
promotion.
In fact,
And we
they
didn't
I know
use
we
it
put
all.
in a small
We
amount.
didn't, like
We
a
put in
couple
small.
thousand.
Yeah.
Like we put
didn't
in about
put
4,
much.
which wasn't much, I don't think.
Right.
But I'm just trying to get an idea.
Okay. All right, I don't have anyone else on the board, so without any further questions, comments, we are adjourned.